Sometimes when I'm feeling all down and sad, whether it be from giving up a bad solo kill in League, or even losing a game, or thinking about how that one time in a baseball game I shat my pants while literally standing on first base, then had to sit in my own crap compost the entire way home while trying to convince my friend's dad who was driving me that I saw a fat person fart before we got in the car and that's why it smells like a deceased Chipotle burrito, but I still know that 20 years later he knows me as the kid who shit his pants. I like to go on solo queue leaderboards and scroll through close to 19,000 pages until I reach the overgrown sperm cells playing in Iron 4, where you see some capital INT interesting win rates down there as an ultimate form of copium, until I find some kid definitely trying to lose every game with a 10% win rate. Only to look for a total piss fest of a match of his that I can sit down and make up weird stories about how these people are bigger failures in life than myself. For example, imagine the juicy backstory behind this double jungler feed fest where the team has foregone the idea of having an ADC because this trolling Yeti monster must have got that role, as I'm thinking the real jungler wasn't having a great time and neither was this dude thinking his iron ass can play Zed, or poor Betty trying to rock the worst champ in the game in what I assume was a solo lane for her, but unfortunately we'll never know the real story of that one because Riot has yet to find a way to make an item cost 300 more gold without breaking literally everything about their game. So today I found an even worse example where this Nunu might have met his match in the trolling department to show you what goes on in the depths of Iron 4, so we can all learn to look out for and mentally prepare for having that one awful teammate.
But how am I supposed to know if they are going to troll before the game?
Great question. Stock image of a young boy way too happy to actually play League. It's simple. You use FaceCheck, which is a free League app that tells you everything you could ever need to know about your match. Starting with popular picks and bans in your role so you know who to look out for. OG, who could have seen MF being insane? Definitely not me. And then it does a background check on your teammates so you can request they play their comfort champs to give you the best chances of winning. Since they listen, it's only fitting you return the favor by playing one of your a champ you haven't touched in weeks, but that's the next thing you can rely on FaceCheck for. Just click these buttons and the best runes and spells are set up for you. The only negative about the app is that they think Flash belongs on F instead of D, but you can change that too. Anyways, there's a pre-game scouting report with smart tags to let you know who to look out for and when you inevitably get destroyed because your team hated each other and everyone just wanted out. You even get an end-game comparison summary so that you know where to focus on improving in future games. And all this is free, so check my link to get FaceCheck and start climbing today. Alright, so this is gonna be quite the dumbass duet of a replay, as this Graga support quickly became the main character for a few reasons. He unites with the boys for what looks like a solid red buff heist until you realize that the 10% win rate Nunu has already revealed exactly how he maintains his Iron 4 rank by hard trolling his teammates, so he lets the fatty do the work and then takes the credit for himself. Then I'm thinking, okay, douchey start, but at least they have a solid gank on the agenda right off the bat, until you account for the fact that he who should be rolling a snowball has opted into joining the party and then standing still like he has damn stage fright and freezes up. But us real League players know he is just a degenerate piece of scum in his mom's basement waiting for his next unemployment check to cash out and fund his next purchase of Jewel Pods, so needless to say that gank was unsuccessful. But here's what had my scrotum hairs standing straight up in attendance. You see early invade into failed troll gank, understandable in this actual satanic rank, but why in God's piss is Fat Tony now going back into the jungle to do the heavy lifting for the dancing douche canoe just to get it smited away again? It's early on into the lore investigation of these virgins, but the initial theories are that this is a multi-boxing moron playing both champs, or somehow the Snow Yeti has a mind-controlling course on an impressionable 6 IQ 9-year-old who is just being introduced to video games. Either way, you can see that the two are joined at the hip like a pair of Siamese twins forced to share one obviously underperforming brain as they continue to perform the interpretive dance depicting corporate greed in America, where the fat unhealthy low-level shitter does all the dirty work and the guys at the top benefit. Then we have round 2 of what these tit-tethered cucklords would call a gank, which seems like at least one secured homicide, but I'd like to direct your attention to the floating book writing kitten who may damn well has been playing against beginner bots in this sequence who are still in their alpha stage in programming until the angry amputee gets a little too greedy, which ends in some feety while Tweedledee and Tweedledum as shit live to troll each other another day. That said, there is some level of basic pattern recognition going on in the asshole attic they call ahead, because they know that they were able to kill chickens successfully earlier and thus are returning to hopefully accomplish the same thing again, except this time there's a twist in the form of a wild Articuno who is now a 7. Well within the healthy percentages for a champion at this stage in the game, but ginger diabetes over here is in the less than 1 percentile, still working on getting past his second birthday, pretends Nunu is Epstein and he is a Kennedy and firmly acts like he doesn't know the man even if it means giving two shits about how it ends for him. As Zerath, who I am confident is one of the few real living human beings in this game, helps Keggy Craigie learn the answer to the famous riddle. What comes first? The chicken or the egg? Where the chicken, which in this case was a bird, came before the egg, and trying to kill said egg would result in a pissed off rock bender interrupting her day at the pool to punish said antics. This Nunu has teleport apparently, and for anyone who is wondering, that's the full version answer to the chicken and egg riddle. Anyways, the bald diabetic drunk ginger at this point has the false confidence from this fake buddy system going on to try and fight as if this Nunu is going to do anything but stand there and pick lint out of his asshole, so he goes down for trying. But then it's finally gonna happen when Graggy the Griefer is gonna get his first kill ever. And then, because he is literally half as old as everyone else at this party, he gets sent to bed before they whip out the natty lights. That said, while it's abundantly clear that this Nunu came with the batteries not included, I was still not entirely sure on if Gragas was likewise a piece of trolling shit or if he was genuinely just a bad player, as I saw small sparks of hope that showed at least an intent to get kills despite his macro gameplay decision making single-handedly qualifying him for a brain transplant list. Regardless of the level of perceived int and despite this Nunu's best efforts, they were still winning with a legendary power plant mid who wasn't going to get taken down without dealing with a body slam from the TLC 700-pound man first, which is enough to kill off most dogs his size. But you know what they say, if you strip down to your XXL undies and run around planting cameras and dropping kegs in the neighbors' yards, it's only a matter of time before one sets their dog on you. And despite this drunken dumbass's very best efforts in completing the naked mile, he unfortunately was rewarded his 9th death. And sure, you could argue that leading the pack of a single file game of Follow the Feeding Leader seems a little bit sussy baka, or the fact that he was seemingly dying to get eaten out by a wolf with some bad kind of bestiality fetish level gameplay, but in my book his failures were legit as opposed to this Nunu who represents everything wrong with this community. These failed abortions were still getting hard carried by none other than a man named Chungus, while our cellulite superstar was having spontaneous moments of brilliance, making me think he wasn't so bad after all, only to then immediately go walking into oncoming traffic with no option other than to slam his big barrel like it was on his bucket list before he died. Now, as you can tell by the levels, Nunu did a bit of a no-no, which was AFKing in Fountain, but that's too easily detectable by Riot, so he is back on the Rift and soft-inting by standing still and doing nothing in the middle of the map instead, while his honest awful teammates are off trying to make big plays. But a one-shot Ezreal may as well be a jelly-filled donut, because this 2022 front page Calvin Klein body is not the kind that will stop when one is in its sights. And while I think a lot of egotistical higher elo players would be questioning his positioning in these fights, the only thing I was truly wondering myself is what kind of cancerous prolapstanus of a person queues up and plays 8 to 10 games of League a day just to not even AFK in them but rather actively run around with the team only to then just stand still, dance and recall during fights. Like this player should be forced to carry around a potted plant and apologize to it constantly for wasting the oxygen it produces. Like, someone do me a favor, please reach inside of the biggest piece of shit part of themself, the most virgin-ridden part of your soul, and tell me how running around with the boys just to make them continuously pick fights while you stand still and then recall while they then look like miraculously moronic dumbasses is a good use of your time on this planet, because it's baffling my brain right now. Anyways, despite all this adversity and the biggest troll I've ever seen, it looks like they were about to get their happy ending that players like this Gragas only get if they pay for it. That is, until they didn't, because they died. Absolute shocker that Nunu was there but refusing to touch the Nexus, and then obviously when you have a player trying that hard to lose the game, it eventually happens. So there you have it, folks. A player with a 10% win rate in Iron 4, and all it takes is for you to literally waste your life doing absolutely nothing of value every day, which I guess you could say about all of us, but I'll stick to trying in the games I play. Rav out.